I said that's my history teacher.
Yeah.
She goes, he's not going to be able to move tomorrow.
Yeah, there's more running there than I thought. I was flying all around. Okay, bell ringer for today. Describe reasons why President Truman decided to utilize the atomic bomb to end World War II. There we go. Yes. That first pop-up, though, I'm getting under it, and all of a sudden, boom, crushed the ground.
I guess it was slipping.
It was. There's a couple people that fell over. Trina, how you doing, man?
Good, how are you?
Good? Trina, how are you doing? Oh, no, you're good. You're good.
Pretty good.
Good. You a big Gene Simmons fan, Jeffrey?
My dad is a huge Gene Simmons fan. I just sort of followed suit and liked the music.
Oh, okay.
He and his buddies actually one day went for, this was back like they were in college.
Yeah.
Just for like Halloween. He actually dressed as Gene Simmons and took a razor blade and like cut his tongue so he could like spit like blood.
What? Jeez. Who, your dad?
One of his buddies, I think.
Oh, his buddies.
Did it, but I don't know which one. He's actually just did it.
Wow.
They were on some other stuff then, I'm pretty sure. So they actually do that.
Okay. Griffin, how you doing? Yeah, good. So what's your shirt of again? Trippy Red. Is he a rapper? Oh, nice.
You love him,
Would I?
Yeah, oh yeah, you would. I know you
What songs does he have? I don't know any. To write one down so I can listen to it. You don't know any, Griffin?
Oh no, yeah. I do.
Oh, what's one of his famous songs?
Love Scars.
Love what?
It's called like Love Scars.
Love Scars. Okay, I'll have to check that out. That sounds pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Man, Forney just wearing an Aeropostale shirt. Oh boy. All right, so what do we have here? What do we got? Troy, what do you have for bell ringer?
He wanted to make sure that the communism wouldn't be spread.
Okay.
To the Union. And he also wanted to end the war quickly so there would be high American casualties.
Yeah, good job. Good job. And do you remember the invasion name for the mainland of Japan? I don't know if I went over it yesterday. No, that's all right. Downfall, yep. So they thought, well, if we try to invade the mainland of Japan, this would result into millions of more deaths and casualties. That Truman wanted to try to protect American lives. And we know this war that was drawn out, fought in the European theater, fighting Pacific theater. Once it was coming to a close, he wanted to try to make a decision that would end it quick, abruptly. And with that being said, what were the two cities that were targeted by the atomic weapons? What were they? Troy?
Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Good job. And what was the plane name that dropped the first atomic bomb? Jeffrey? Enola Gay. All right, good. All right, so yeah, another reason. Many people argue and say that, well, the United States, Truman wanted to try to almost keep the Soviet Union in their place. and really show that we had this super weapon, this nuclear weapon, and if negotiations moving forward, it better be in the United States' favor, right? That we want to try to show our dominance at the world stage, show that we are a superpower. Yeah, the Soviet Union would be a superpower as well, as they'll create their first atomic bomb in 1949. They'll detonate it, but at the moment, and right at the end of World War Two, the United States was really that's that only superpower moving forward. Soviet Union would then become the superpower, and the Cold War would ensue. And this Cold War will happen and occur all the way up until the 1990s. But yeah, many people say Truman, number one, obviously saving American lives, and even Japanese citizens, civilians' lives when this operation, this invasion may occur. But utilizing the atomic weapons, maybe keeping the Soviet Union in their place, and maybe have some sort of negotiations moving forward. What do you guys think about that video? That video yesterday, with that perspective of Japanese citizen that experienced Hiroshima bombing. Forney, what do you think? Yeah, yeah. So you get really hear about their say of the matter and how devastating it really was. It wasn't just, many Americans just think, oh, this is the end of the war. When in all reality, this super weapon was used on people. Right? There's a lot of deaths. 60,000 impact, right on impact, and then hundreds of thousands, 100,000, around 120,000 because of radiation, right? Because the effects of the bomb itself. And I think it's interesting that no sitting president has visited Hiroshima, right? I think that's weird. You think that they would maybe want to go back and almost show a memorial or tribute to these people. But again, it's one of those things that we don't like to pound our chest on too much. But when it came to atomic weapons throughout the Cold War, it was literally a race between the United States and Soviet Union. All right, is there any questions on that, guys? So we already know Truman, he was trying to throw his weight around a little bit with these negotiations with Stalin moving forward. And this would create a lot of tensions after World War II, leading into post-war Europe and how Europe's going to be shaped, and the rest of the world, with communism, democracy, how that's going to be a conflict in itself. All right, terms for today. So tomorrow I'll talk about it. I can't really zoom in too much more, but we have the Holocaust. I'll talk about that today, show you a video, and that'll be it. And then tomorrow I'll talk about the Nuremberg trials. And Thursday we'll have review, Friday test. Friday test. So the Holocaust, Nuremberg trials, I will talk about that more tomorrow. All right. What do we have here for any Holocaust?
It was the murdering of 6 million Jews across Germany from occupied Europe. 2/3 of Europe's Jewish population.
All right, good, good. So really at the start of Hitler's leadership, right around 1933, 1934, these acts against these people. We talked about the Leut right, and how this was almost a progression, a systematic progression to what we see as the death camps eventually. And we mentioned and talked about the uprising of Hitler and how he gained power in Germany, and how this was his master plan from the very beginning to try to weed out the Leut and to try to find a place, a world that was just fulfilled for the Volk, for the higher class people, and for the Aryan race. Good, good. So with the Holocaust, we'll talk about it today. 6 million Jews and people of different political backgrounds that were far different from Nazism and Nazi political ideology, placed in these concentration camps, ghettos, and eventually death camps, right? All right, so tomorrow I'll talk about the Nuremberg trials. I won't mention that too much today. All right, real quick, let's go over this. So a lot of this, like I mentioned, was somewhat of a review since we talked about it earlier in the semester with the rise of Germany, Nazi Germany. Okay, so results of the war: Holocaust, 6 million Jews, 5 million others killed by the German Nazis. And really this was Hitler's idea from the very beginning. Okay, and what was that book he wrote? What was that called again? Griffin? Mein Kampf. Yeah, good job. So he wrote that when he was trying to gain power in Germany, was placed in jail, and talked about some of the hardships in Germany after World War I. And how many of these people, okay, wanted to bring back this German nationalism. And Hitler thought, well, the only way we're going to see our Aryan culture race move forward in the future is if we eliminate, exterminate Jews, Leut, communists from the world, and to try to make sure that this was a world just for that Aryan race, that Aryan culture. All right, so we know the blonde hair, Nordic, blue eyes, okay, tall stature, and we discussed a little bit about how the Nazis were kind of trying to indoctrinate these people in Germany with a lot of different teachings and race science teachings, and to try to show the difference between these Jewish people and the Aryan race in Germany. Okay, we talked about how that, the education system, Hitler really wanted to try to target that and make sure that he could create these super soldiers in a way. And with the Nazi Hitler Youth programs, okay, League of German Girls, and trying to prepare Germany for this war, and eventually trying to obviously kill off the Jews in Europe and from the German borders. Okay, so we mentioned that a little bit before, and how when Hitler gained power, what his goal was from the beginning. And then what were those set of laws that tried to de-citizen these Jewish people from Germany? What were they called? Do you guys remember? Those laws that were trying to strip them of their citizenship, their ways of life, try to forbid many of these German citizens from having any type of relationship, any type of marriages with these Jewish people. Go ahead, Jeffrey.
The Nuremberg laws.
Nuremberg laws. Yep, good job, good job. And eventually that would lead to Star of David's being placed on these people's jackets or identification cards, and forbidding them of any type of German restaurants or businesses. So they could no longer go there to obviously purchase those goods or utilize these types of facilities. And then I guess you say the next step would be what? What next? What else happened? What else happened? So a little bit during the 1936 Olympic Games, they tried to kind of push that to the side so other countries wouldn't see what was going on, because there was a lot of countries, even the United States, that were maybe even thinking about not going or participating in the Olympic Games because of the hearsay of what was going on in Germany with this hatred and this genocide that was just going on, that was happening. Again, there was just hearsay. Not everybody could prove that this was going on. But Troy, what do you have? Yeah, crystal not a broken glass. So 1938, after those Olympic Games were over, they were trying to destroy many of these Jewish-run businesses. Examples of them out in the streets and trying to really push them out of their society. So the destruction of the businesses, the restaurants, okay, looting of many of their goods, burning of their books and their literature, and destroying their places of worship, synagogues, right, cemeteries, trying to get rid of any type of history they may have had in Germany. So in the towns, cities, villages, wherever it might be, and to try to push them out of their society. And this is kind of leading up to already to the deportation of these people to these concentration camps, right? So again, it's almost like a step-by-step progression of where this will lead to ultimately the death camps. All right, good. And I know I showed you guys before in American history, but here are the camps that were spread out all throughout Germany. And these different concentration camps, death camps, in many cases ghettos, Warsaw Ghetto especially, there's a large uprising there, which I'll mention a little bit today, of how they're trying to push out the German authority in Warsaw. It was somewhat successful. It was one of the biggest uprisings of Jewish people against the German control in Warsaw. But yeah, there are the death camps, the concentration camps, worker education camps, foreign worker camps that were located all throughout Germany, into parts of Poland, modern day Czechoslovakia. Okay, it's alarming how many there really were. Okay, and it really just showed what Hitler's main goal really was. Right, obviously trying to win this war, right, win World War II and expand Lebensraum, the living space for his German people, but at the same time, rid the world, well, at this moment, Germany and Europe, from the Leute, right? From the Jews, the communists, people of different political background or ideology from the Nazis. Right? If they had all one universal method or universal ideology, then that's what they'll follow, right? There would be no hiccups or conflicts or issues or uprisings if everybody was streamlined the same mentality. And with propaganda, indoctrination, right? That's exactly what they're trying to push for. And teaching in the schools, like I mentioned, the Hitler youth camps and organizations targeting the youth, making them think one certain way, and disbanding any type of other political ideology. So literally right when Hitler became the Führer, the supreme leader, he was already pushing some of these communist groups out, these communist political, parties within the Reichstag. Many times even killing them right on the spot, right when he became the supreme leader. All right, so you guys know somewhat of the Holocaust. Like I mentioned, that progression, right? A terrible progression. So we mentioned about the Nuremberg laws, okay, how that's moving up to Kristallnacht, eventually the work camps, okay, and then obviously the death camps, the extermination camps. And here are some pictures that are really hard to see, obviously, and some pictures eventually when the Allied powers, when they're pushing Germany back to their own borders, stumbled across some of these concentration camps. And we all know that they weren't given any food really at all. No running water, no electricity, stacked jam tight into many of these homes, and literally worked to death. And towards the end of the war, when Germany was being pushed back, like I mentioned, to their own borders, they're trying to get rid of any type of evidence. So destroying these camps, killing as many as possible, and trying to cremate a lot of these people, okay, to try to show that there was no evidence, and even burying mass burial grounds here in these camps. And many of the German people, German citizens, tried to really, they didn't really kick back too much. If they would, they'd probably be thrown in those concentration camps, those death camps, or even killed, right? So that's why many of these German citizens just kind of went along with it. They're giving a higher standard of living. And at the same time, they're in fear, paranoia, that what might happen to them if they tried to kick back against the German rule, the Nazi rule here during this time period. So yeah, these people that were surrounding these camps, they knew what was going on. They saw what was going on, but they really couldn't do too much about it. Right? Yeah, there were some acts of saving these people, obviously, and getting them seeking refuge. But again, that was really alarming. Someone who got caught trying to save these people and pull them from these concentration camps, they might be placed in the same camp or put to death by the Nazis. All right, and this will lead obviously to the Nuremberg trials, which we'll talk about tomorrow, and how there's going to be different types of court proceedings against these high-ranking Nazi officials, and to try to make sure that this never happens again. Unfortunately, there is still genocide today. All right, one of the main things, one of the current things, is in China, right, against Muslim population in the western part of China, and it's still going on today. Like I said, and we try to set a precedent after World War II about eliminating genocides all around the world, but again, there's only so much you can do, I guess. Right? That's obviously the main goal, to try to prevent this from happening, but sad reality. Okay, so the deaths toll, the Soviet Union definitely losing the most. Okay, as you can see at the very top, I know it says around 24 million, but it's around 27 million Soviet soldiers, civilian citizens that died. A lot of it with Operation Barbarossa, when Germany was invading into the Soviet Union, surrounding many of these cities, like Kyiv, and moving up into what we do is modern day St. Petersburg. And China actually taking huge losses, as Japan controlled much of their land and committed a lot of different crimes as well, which we'll mention tomorrow with the Tokyo crimes, Tokyo tribunals against many of the leadership in Japan, military leadership, the harsh treatment of these Chinese people, and moving out into the Pacific Islands, how they treated a lot of these individuals as they're imperializing these nations. United States lost 500,000. 500,000. So obviously that's a lot of people, but not near as what we see with the Soviet Union, China, even Germany, obviously, even though they're mostly the aggressive ones there. And you can see the Allied civilians that were killed, the Axis, not near as many, not near as much, but there were still Axis civilians that died with these constant bombing runs over these industrial areas. And finally, I know we talked about it before, but these Japanese internment camps. These Japanese internment camps, a dark stain in American history. We obviously don't look at this as a bright part in U.S. history, but during wartime, this was our best decision, right? FDR thought this was our best tactic of trying to prevent any type of attack on American soil. Again, it's really sad, but to try to prevent any type of attack like Pearl Harbor from occurring again, but this time in American soil, who knows, New York City, right, Washington, D.C., this was his decision. He tried to make sure there was protection for American individuals and citizens. We can't allow this war to be placed internally in our own borders. So for really the remainder of the war, 1941 to 1945, we had these camps open, these internment camps, and tried to prevent any type of attack. And really, they look a lot like these concentration camps within Germany. We tried to supply them with running water, electricity, but most of them, they didn't really have them. They're located in remote locations. So if they would ever escape, it was far, far away from a larger population where maybe an attack could happen. All right, is there any questions on that, guys? You guys good with that? Okay, so I'm just going to show a video, and I'll wrap up class. So again, tomorrow we'll talk about the Nuremberg trials, and we will finish up exam.